Natural Born Killers. That's not the name of the song. Okay.
Whoa.
Well,
It was going
to be, yeah. Blood Pact. That song is, I had a weekend driving around with a friend, like all across Southern California, and kind of doing bad things and
hood rat things with your friends.
Yeah, exactly. And at one point, one of us was like, "This is some Natural Born Killers type shit," and we're like, "Yeah, it is," And it was not like we were not murdering people, but I don't know, just on the road, driving through the desert kind of thing. That more or less sparked my interest in turning that experience into a song and using some imagery from the movie. And so that's another song that changed a lot from when I wrote it to right before we recorded it.
That was probably one of a earlier one that you wrote.
It was
too, because we were playing that song before we recorded it.
Totally. Yes. I mentioned that Dearly Departed was like the first song that I wrote for the album, but it was not really for the album. It's the first song that I wrote that got my gears going in the motion of like, okay, I think I'm getting into a headspace where I can write some songs for this album that we knew we wanted to, start writing. But that weekend with my friend and the Natural Born Killers reference, that was like I sat down, wrote part of that song, and was like, okay, it kind of just sparked my whole thing for writing the rest of the songs that ended up being on the album. And then later, a few months later, before we went to the studio, when we were on tour in Europe on the Punk and Drublic tour, it had been a while since I'd actually seen Natural Born Killers, so I watched it on tour and I wrote down a bunch of lyrics that I ended up finishing the song that way after rewatching the movie because it had been some years. And so some of the lines from the movie are directly in there.
They tore up the countryside with their vengeance right out of the Bible.
American Maniacs is the name of the TV show. It's Robert Downey Jr. is the character, plays Wayne Gale, and it's like a, I don't know, it's like America's Most Wanted, but it's also like a tabloid type thing, and they're like America's sweethearts, but they're these, highly dangerous killers on the run. So that's where the American Maniacs comes from, and also they make a reference to Route 66, but it's Highway 666.
Tonight, I'm standing on Highway 666, running through towns like Cortez, Shiprock, Sheep Springs, and ending in Gallup, New Mexico. To some, a beautiful stretch of the American landscape, but to Mickey and Mallory Knox, who are still at large, it is literally a candy lane of murder and mayhem.